What's good, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, Moss Hunters and Moss Honeys. Today we're going to take a quick look at Silver Rathalos. Now, he made his debut in the first generation of Moss Hunter G to be exact. He was known as a rare species of monster. Between him and Gold Raytheon, they were the only ones up until Lucinarga who could join the fray, which was 2 generations after that. Nevertheless, the whole point of Silver Rathalos is that he is the final form, if you will, of Rathalos. Rathalos has the most, I believe he's currently tied with Legiferous with the most different iterations in and of itself. I think Lucin is in there as well. Nevertheless, Silver Rathalos is basically the amalgamation of all the Rathalos actually had into one monster. Now, in this particular game, what makes this Silver Rathalos more special than that of its previous counterparts was that in base Rise, Rathalos himself got a huge buff. He had a whole bunch of new moves added to him, and Silver Rathalos got all those moves as well. So on top of the moves that Silver Rathalos usually gets, the things that actually make him different from that of his standard Rathalos, he did get a bunch of cool new tricks and tools and attacks that came in through Iceborne. His super charge state is what I'm going to call it. And then they also combined that with a couple of the attacks that he got in base Rise, where it's the Fire Carpet, the 2 different fire carpeting type of attacks. He got those as well, on top of a couple of things that make him very unique to that of himself. The giant super mega fireball of death that he kind of halfway inherited between himself and Dread King Rathalos. Again, Silver Rathalos is the amalgamation of all Rathalos into just one being. So with that said, let's talk about the things that make him new and interesting. I spoke briefly about his super fireball. Now he has this particular fireball where he actually shoots, once he's in his supercharged state, his body goes all blue. He roars really loud. I'm sure one of the guys on the game, they'll tell you, hey, he's doing some funny stuff or whatever. The whole point of that is he has access to his more additional moves. More notably, because he's like the king of the skies, he does tend to fly quite a bit. However, what is to be noted is that he actually flies a little bit less than what he used to. But the cool thing about it, though, is that the fact that he flies a little bit less is cool because you can actually fight him. That was the biggest qualm that a lot of people had with Silver Rathalos, him not ever touching the ground. Iceborne Silver Rathalos never touched the ground. He never touched grass. This one, a little less than that. I mean, he's still pretty obnoxious, especially when he gets in his charge up state, because he has the blue fire. Now with the blue fire comes the, what I like to call, the meteorites, the thing that he actually inherited from Dread King Rathalos. He'll fly in the sky. It's this whole animation. He'll fly in the sky, he'll shoot what looks to be fireballs in any kind of random direction, but what he's actually doing is he's charging that particular area for a blast. Now what he'll do is he'll shoot about 3 or 4 of them on the ground, and then at the very end he'll shoot a big ball on the ground. Now the thing is, what he tends to do is he'll shoot a couple of those meteorites in like a cluster and then shoot the big fireball at the meteorites. Now the meteorites blow up on themselves after a set amount of time, but when he hits it with the blue flame, it's a huge explosion. So kind of watch out for that. That's his big slapper of attack that you really need to look out for. Now, to make sure that you don't get hit with any of the funny stuff, you're gonna actually want to do as much damage to him as you possibly can, hitting the glowing bits when he's in his charge state, so that way he gets knocked out of the charge state. Once he's knocked out of the charge state, he still very well be enraged, but he won't be in that supercharged state where he does a whole lot of wild things. Now, speaking of wild things, his fireballs have actually been upgraded. Not just the blue fireballs, his standard fireballs in general. So what he has now is the ability to shoot fireballs that actually explode in like a pillar formation. So he'll usually fly, shoot one on the ground, as he does, and instead of it just being one fireball, one explosion, it's like one fireball, 3 explosions. It's like boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Kind of cool. And he has a couple other really interesting attacks where he'll do one attack into a couple of other attacks. Usually this one attack will lead into fireballs, or sometimes fireballs leading into those same other attacks. It's kind of awesome. Now, with all that being said, Silver Rathalos, he is no true slouch. You can actually slap him fairly quickly, but one thing I want you to actually know from this is that just because he's a Rathalos, he's not weak to the same things Rathalos are usually weak to. He's actually very resilient to that of Dragon. He does retain a bit of a weakness to that of Thunder, but his main weakness is Water. Remember these things and you'll kind of be okay when you go to fight him. Now, we spoke about all Rathalos is and what you can do to actually slap him. Let's talk about the gear, because it's actually pretty good. Okay, one thing I want to note right off the bat is that Silver Rathalos, his armor is insane as far as skills are concerned. So the skills are pretty gosh darn good. They're some of the best out in the game, in my full-on opinions, as far as like DPS and stuff and things like that go. But off the top, we're looking at critical boost 3, critical element 3, windproof 3, element exploit 3, fire attack 3, constitution 5, redirection 2, and maximum might 2. So let's break it all the way down here. He has always been an armor set that give you a lot of critical. In this case, it's still the same. You still get a lot of critical boost, get a lot of critical element, elemental exploit as well. So these are going to be amazing abilities if you really, really want to like do the extra damage to a monster. Outside of like things like agitator and raw attack, he has everything else that actually is very meta. Now, one thing a lot of people tend to do is still mix his armor set. They will take bits of his armor and then mix with other things. They say that his legs are very potent as well. So I can see Silver Rathalos armor being a widely used armor set, especially when it comes to mixing, because a lot of people, they want some of these elemental things, some of these crit in here, and also want to actually have flat attack as well as things like agitator, latent power, and things like that to even boost it even further. So I can totally see this being incredibly viable by itself, or even super useful being mixed. Now, the one thing that isn't too great about the Silver Rathalos gear is that his weapons, in my opinion, they tend to suffer a tad bit. Now, we all remember back in the day, well, for those who do, Silver Rathalos was the tangents that of regular Rathalos. You had Rathalos and Azure Rathalos who gave you the fire element, and then Silver Rathalos would like branch off and give you dragon. That's not the case anymore. In this game, I'm guessing because they don't have subspecies. Well, no, I take that back. They do. They totally do. Just the fact that Azure Rathalos is missing, there isn't anyone to fill that extra fire gap, so they just leave it to Rathalos and Silver Rathalos to do so. Now, I've been told that actually regular Rathalos is even better as far as the weapons themselves go. Silver Rathalos, he has really good weapons. Don't get me wrong, they are very, very well, but I hear that regular Rathalos is probably better off because they give you greater natural purple sharpness, and I think the raw is about the same. So it's really, it comes down to preference. There's small caveats like affinity and so on, and maybe a slot here or there, but for the most part, they kind of are relatively interchangeable between themselves. But with that said, I mean, its gear isn't bad. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not as good as what it used to be, in my opinion. But nevertheless, I mean, dragon or not, it doesn't truly matter. It's still going to be Rathalos gear, and it's still going to be very great. And I full on believe that everyone should go out and try to get you some if you really want some very good fire gear. Okay, so to wrap it up, Silver Rathalos is an amazing monster. He's always been great. He's essentially the amalgamation of everything that is Rathalos in one monster, which is really cool. You can kind of see him throughout the years, you know what I mean? You'll see certain things from one type of Rathalos, certain things from another type of Rathalos, where it's the ability to shoot fireballs in multiple directions in the air like Azure Rathalos, where there's just Rathalos being what Rathalos is from Standard Rathalos, whereas the really cool fireballs that he actually does from Dread King, and just the cool thing that Silver does all by himself. He has a lot to offer, and the craziest thing about him is that his new buff in the 5th generation, when he gets all blue and nice and glowing and whatnot, his turned up silver form, it actually changes how you actually fight him. So remember, like, we all know that his weakness was that of dragon and thunder. In this case, it's not so much anymore. He's actually very weak to water and also thunder. His hit zones are changed up a little bit as well. So Standard Rathalos is very weak to the head, where in this case he's not necessarily that weak to his head anymore, only when he's in his charged up state. So when he's in his charged up state, you actually want to hit him in the head, hit him in the chest, those areas, so that way you actually force him out of that charged state. That's where you can do the most damage. But outside of that, if you're actually still trying to hit him and do the most damage you can to him, you really want to go for the wings. The wings have always been his weak spot when it comes to Silver, when he's not in his super charged up state. So kind of aim for those if you need to, or if you can rather. But if not, I mean, you can still get the job done by smacking him in the head. Outside of that, his gear is really fantastic. I really like the stuff. His armor, it can be mixed to high hell and back, or high heaven rather. Hell is pretty low, I guess, when you really think about it. But nevertheless, the gear is really pretty fantastic. What else is there to really say about the guy? I mean, it's Silver Rathalos. He's been around literally since the beginning. He'll be around up until the end, and probably even after that. He's just an amazing monster. He's a pretty tough fight. You have to watch out for a lot of things that he can give you, especially in his charged up state, where he has a ton of really interesting attacks when it comes to his fireball game. Outside of that, he does have a couple of interesting things where he has quite a few follow-up attacks that would normally not lead into anything in a normal Rathalos. By that I mean, like, he would do a fireball, but this time he'll do a fireball into like a claw attack, or a claw attack into a fireball, you know, that kind of thing. He does have the really interesting fireball attack that actually has plumes of fire. So he has a couple of interesting things about him that make him super unique. But at the end of the day, still Rathalos, and you can still kind of abuse the things that make Rathalos, that is flashing him when he goes into the sky, because he still gets into the sky quite a bit. It's not as broken as it used to be in base world, where if a monster is in the sky and you hit him with a flash ball, they just fall and die on the ground basically. It's not that egregious, but you can still take advantage of his biggest weakness, his weakness being his ground game. It's never been great. That's what Rathian is for. So if you can force him to stay on the ground quite a bit often, you're gonna have a really good time and a relatively easy hunt. I want to say fun hunt, but yeah, it'll be a fun hunt. I actually like hunting them myself. But with that said, everyone, it's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Thanks so much for watching this particular video right here. Tomorrow, question mark, I think, depending on how tired I am pretty tired, if you could tell by the lack of energy in this video. Working all these extra overtime hours and coming home and still trying to get you guys a video is tough. I mean, I worked 14 hours today and then drank a Red Bull and decided to like try and knock out a video. Mind you, the Red Bull didn't help. It actually hurts my stomach, so I should probably not do that. Don't drink a Red Bull on an empty stomach, guys. It's not very smart. But I will try to have a gold rating video out for you tomorrow. I wanted to do both gold and silver rating videos into one slapper of a video, but I don't know, I just didn't feel like that was fun, I guess. And I'm a stickler for what is it called, like organizing things, so I kind of want a video separate for each monster. But with that said, everyone, it's been your boy. Take care. May the desire center forever be in your favor.